Saints managed to end their dismal losing streak with 3 first-half goals against Leeds United at St Mary's. Great to see the team back to winning ways. Glen, you must have enjoyed this one, finally.
Yep. Yeah, it was superb, really, from start to finish. It was surprising. I think the mood, before the game from virtually everybody was reflected in our predictions for the game. Everyone predicting a loss. I at least went with the draw, so I see that as a moral victory. Get that out there early. But no, I don't think anyone was feeling particularly confident going into the game. Leeds have been in very good form, and we'd been in the opposite. And it was just one of those bizarre games that the Championship seems to throw up. It's a bit like us getting beat 5-0 at Sunderland. It sort of came from nowhere, really. And the first half, I just think Leeds were kind of shell-shocked by the way we started the game. I think they were surprised a little bit by our tactical setup, basically not really playing with a centre forward. I think that threw them a little bit, and it was interesting that Alcaraz dropping off the front and picking up that ball was kind of instrumental in the build up for that first goal. So that was that was a great start. Obviously, 2 minutes, lovely finish by Adam Armstrong, which again couldn't have been predicted. You wouldn't expect him to stick that chance away, but it was a great finish. So yeah, can't knock it. And the first half just there was a little flurry from Leeds, but nothing much. And then the second goal went in, and that was another performance by it was a great build up, and it was another performance by a player, Kamaldeen Sulemana, who I've hammered him because he's done nothing.
Yeah, we all have. I think you said yesterday, what had he done to deserve his start in the side yesterday? And you looked at it on paper and nothing.
Yeah, but I mean, when you get players who are very, very quick, like he is, the tendency is for them to do everything at 100 miles an hour. And what impressed me most about that second goal was the fact that he sprinted into space, got the ball, and then just almost stopped and just waited for the right pass. And that's, we talk about end product from wingers. That's exactly it. If you can get your head up and pick someone out, that's worth its weight in gold. And it was it's a lovely ball. It was a great finish by Smallbone, just rolling it into the corner. So yeah, 2-0, and then Sulemana was involved again in the third goal, which again another finish that you wouldn't usually expect Adam Armstrong to make. So but it's getting to the stage with Adam Armstrong that yes, he's limited sometimes, but his goal output you can't knock it. And he's now 7 goals?
Yeah, top scorer.
I know one off his face, but 7 goals you can't knock it. I think the dubious goals panel might have had a look at his third one, because the initial shot was on target, and then the goalie gets a touch to it, which is taking it wide, and then it hits the defender and goes in. So I don't quite know how they'd look at that one. But second half, yes, we let in a goal from the set piece, which was disappointing because we had 10 men in the box, including the goalkeeper. It was disappointing that we didn't deal with that. One chance for Perot, who we were all worried about, but he couldn't control the ball. I mean, if he'd made it 3-2, then that would have made it a bit squeaky at the end. But I thought in the main we handled the second half pretty well in terms of managing the game. We gave the ball away a little bit too much, but we were better when we lost it. We weren't quite so open. We sort of handled the transitions better. And really, Leeds didn't really, I thought, looked like they had a head of steam in them to get back into the game. So I thought we managed it quite well. I thought the substitutions were done at the right times. And in all cases, you couldn't argue with the player being replaced. Some of the ones coming on did well, some not so well. We'll probably get onto that later. So I thought it was, I thought overall it was a very enjoyable performance for everybody, for the players and managers and the manager and the fans, and yeah, can't knock it really.
Yeah, really good. We've got another guest joining us as well tonight. Someone joining us from down under. Adam Saunders is from the Southampton Australian Supporters Group. Thanks for coming on, Adam. Thanks for getting up. What time is it where you are? Just to put it into some sort of context.
It's 5:20 in the morning, so up bright and early to see you fellow Saints fans today. It's one of the things we do down under a little bit. We set alarms all kinds of hours through the night to watch Saints, and as you said, a member of the SAS, it's called over here, Southampton Australia supporter. So absolute pleasure to be on the show, and thank you.
All right, we'll get your thoughts on yesterday's game in just a moment. I mean, Alfie, it seemed to be one of those days where the hard work through the week had paid off. There was lots of talk about all the work that they put in. There was a good vibe. You felt a little bit of confidence. And yesterday, it just seemed to click because everything kind of came off. I don't think Leeds were incredible, but we had a good day at the office and we needed one of those.
Yeah, definitely. I think when you actually look back at the last sort of 4 or 5 games, the 4 losses, obviously the Sunderland one was was pretty distasteful. But then you had a week of international break where there wasn't actually anybody there, so there was no real work going on the pitch. And then you had 3 games in a week, obviously with Leicester, Ipswich, and Middlesbrough. So there was again not much time actually on the grass. They were just back to back, and when confidence was that low, I guess maybe it could all build up. That's not to excuse those performances or those results. But like you said, they had a week on to work on it, and I think they flung a pretty good surprise on Leeds. To be fair, Russell Martin, he's gone back to this diamond before. There was a period where they lost 4 or 5 games in a row for Swansea in March last year, and then they went to a diamond for Bristol City, Cardiff City, and Coventry City, who are obviously the eventual playoff finalists. And they beat Bristol City and Cardiff and drew 0-0 with Coventry, and then they went back to what they were doing beforehand. So I don't know if he just sees it as something that they can go to surprise an opponent when they think they've been worked out. And now, Stoke won't know exactly how they're going to line up on Tuesday. When I spoke to Russell after, he did indicate that he wasn't happy with the second half. But I think the most important thing is probably just getting through it and getting the confidence, and the supporters seeing that they're not going to chuck it in the back of their own net 3 times, because there was definitely a lot of fear that when the first one went in, that would happen. But I don't know. I don't think he'll play the same system on Tuesday. Maybe he's just sort of bluffing me so that when Stoke see any potential report, they don't know what to prepare for. But I think he might go back to the 4-3-3, which would be interesting, but we'll have to see.
Fraser, what have you made of the recent run and in particular that result yesterday? Because, 4 defeats in a row, not great. 5 would have been a very different podcast tonight. What have you made of it, or what's been your take?
Yeah, the run's obviously, it is sort of what it is. It's obviously been very disappointing. I think, like Alfie says, the Sunderland result was terrible, and the performance was sort of equally as terrible. But there were some positives to take from the other games, I think, in that period, although it's sort of difficult when it's on such a run of defeats. I think initially, going into this game, I don't think anyone really saw that performance come in, definitely not that result. But I think one of the takeaways I had, especially after the Ipswich game, was I was almost a bit almost jealous sort of after the Ipswich game of sort of how simple the tactics were from Ipswich point of view, in that they're newly promoted side, and it was very much about sort of keeping it tight. And when we were trying to play it through, they were very much get the ball away and then build up from there or win the second ball. And I think I was quite jealous on the back of that. And that's what I think when I wrote a piece sort of questioning whether Martin does need to have a sort of, not a rethink of his principles, because he's not going to change his footballing philosophy or his principles, but just be a little bit more adaptable. And I think he showed yesterday that he's done that, and he really did come out sort of an answer to his critics. And I know Alfie mentioned there that he's sort of done that before and reverted to this sort of diamond midfield. But I think yesterday the nice thing about it was we had a really, really nice shape to us, and our pressing was the best I've seen under Russell Martin, I think. But the fact as well is that everyone sort of goes on about Russell Martin's possession and stuff like that. And yesterday was obviously our lowest possession of the season. I think we had 47%, and which is like to be out down on possession is surprising. But actually, Leeds' main threat yesterday, and I think everyone was really worried about, was on the counter and using the pace of sort of Somerville, Dan James, Rutter up top. I think that was the real worry, and I think that was the really reassuring thing in the second half, particularly that it's difficult once they conceded that goal, and obviously that's a different game if Perot takes that chance in his stride. And but the fact that we drop deeper, like we often have seen when Saints concede a goal, and you do worry that you drop deeper and deeper until inevitably you concede. But actually yesterday, it felt like there was an element of that dropping deeper and a bit of sort of nerves, but actually it was almost a neutralised threat in behind as well. And the thing about the thing I really liked about yesterday was first half performance was excellent in an attacking sense and a defensive sense. In the second half, we showed that actually we didn't crumble when it very easily could have gone that way. So we had nervy St. Mary's. And I think yesterday really reassured me that actually, I think the difference yesterday for me was the aggression, but also the sort of the pride in defending. I think the amount of times that Leeds had sort of bodies on the edge of the box and they were crowded out by a group of players. And one player who I was surprised, but actually did really well defensively when he came on was Ryan Fraser. I think he really did a great job defensively. He made a few tackles. He won some fouls in key moments. Not quite sure how Ampadu didn't get booked for that one on Ryan Fraser up on the left wing, but there were some questionable decisions I thought yesterday. But yeah, generally I was really pleased with it yesterday, and I really like Alcaraz in that role. But like Alfie says, I wouldn't be surprised to play even more. I don't know if this was Alfie was alluding to, but a more conventional striker against Stoke on Tuesday. I think Alcaraz, that suits certain games, and we saw him used there a lot in last season in the Premier League. And I think a key reason he played there is because he's not trusted in midfield, which is what Martin's alluded to. And he's not, under a number of managers now, they've been frustrated with his sort of pressing because he runs a lot and he sprints a lot, but sometimes his pressing's a little erratic and it's not quite in what the manager wants. But him dropping deep to get that ball meant Cooper and Starke at the back, they didn't know whether to follow him or not, and that opened up so much space for Sulemana and Armstrong, who started wide and made those runs centrally, and that was the threat in the first half. And like Alfie said, and I think Glen referred to, I think we just took Leeds completely by surprise playing that way. They wouldn't have prepared for that at all, and it was really nice to see Martin just sort of change it up and do something new. And I think Martin deserves a great deal of credit because he was starting to get louder and louder criticism, and actually, I think all credit to him. He changed it, and it worked.
I think it made the whole midfield work. To be honest, just having, we talked last week about the fact that if the midfield's not available to receive the ball, then the whole sort of ethos of Russell Martin's system just breaks down. Because if they don't want the ball, or if they're not available for the ball, then the short passes then become more risky, and it all goes to pot. Having an extra player as a ball receiver, and also having Stuart Armstrong in the side, who is by far our most intelligent midfield player in terms of getting into space and receiving the ball, it just made the whole transition from back to front a hell of a lot better with the system that we played against Leeds.
What time was the game for you, Adam? Did you all get together to watch it yesterday?
Do you know what? It was actually really good. It was one of those games that you earmark for two reasons. First of all, it's Leeds, but also it was a 9:30 kickoff, which is really great in Australia because now the clocks have just changed this weekend. It's a lot of 2 a.m. jobs and things like that. So it was a pretty good kickoff time, and it's even better to see the result, But really enjoyed it. And like to echo some of the points made there, it was really exciting to get off to a good start as well. I love that I was surprised myself. I don't know if you guys were, that we a lot of Russell Martin, people that know Russell Martin from championship seasons of the past and stuff, have said he will double down. When things go bad, he will double down. He actually, I thought, sacrificed things with the system, and he sacrificed RM ball, as it's been alluded to, by the players that he picked as well, which was really, I thought, really cool and good that we can adapt and that he is going to be flexible and change. So it was great result for Saints.
How much of it, Adam, do you think was down to that early goal? Because obviously the atmosphere from fans at the game hasn't necessarily been the best. We talked about it. And it can turn very quickly. We get the early goal, and then there's a different atmosphere in the stadium, and all of a sudden they can be, as he says, braver on the ball. Yeah,
definitely. I definitely agree. And I think, look, although I'm sure there's probably still a couple of Saints fans that were nervous at 3-0, to be honest, especially if we think some people will remember the Leeds game from the Championship probably 10 or 12 years ago, where we were 3-up at half time with Quasi and getting a goal in that, and that we lost 4-3. So I'm sure there's a few people that were nervous still. To Alfie's point earlier, it was good that we were really solid, though. I think we showed really good parts to our game that I haven't seen after RM and since Russell Martin's come in. So look, I think even now people will be really excited about the next home game, hopefully, and it's going to be really a much greater buzz around St Mary's. I'm certainly looking forward to the next couple of games a lot more as well. So yeah, really good. I was talking to my uncle, who's a really big Leeds fan, before the game, and I was thinking, God, he must be licking his lips at the minute, like playing Saints, especially, probably even rather playing at St Mary's at the moment because of the pressure the team's been under. But he said to me, he's like, Adam, it's not a good time to play Saints. It's not a good time. You've got such a good team, and it's all gonna come together pretty soon. So yeah, he was fortunately he was right.
Spoken like a man who doesn't watch us.
I mean, it was a bit nervy in the second half, Glenn, wasn't it? And we can never quite fully relax. There's always just that little bit of doubt that starts to creep in.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously when they scored, the initial immediate reaction is always, oh, here we go. But
yeah,
but when you get through it and you look back on it, even at the time, I wasn't that bothered. Leeds hadn't really created anything from open play. As I said before, that was a set piece. So I wasn't that worried. I took comfort in the fact that our back four all played really well. I think it was probably Ryan Manning's best game. He had that one little incident in the first half where he trod on the ball in the penalty area. But other than that, I thought he had a good game. He seemed to be more willing to engage with the winger than he has done in the past. So and I remembered watching Dan James that he is in fact useless. He's one that, I said earlier on about, Sulemana slowing down. Dan James is incapable of doing that. He just does everything at 100 miles an hour and usually runs out of pitch. He's like Forrest Gump or whatever. He just runs into the advertising hoardings. He's just not very good. Somerville I thought was dangerous on the left-hand side, but Walker Peters has certainly upped his game the last sort of like 2 or 3 weeks really. And again, Bazunu was decent, but the two centre halves I thought were superb. And I don't know how much of it, Rutter and Perot had off days, or whether they just, you get it with strikers. Sometimes they realise they're getting nothing out of the centre backs, and they just kind of disappear. And I thought both Harwood Bellis and Bednarek were excellent. And it's if those two carry on playing like that, then, captain though he is, Jack Stevens is going to have a hard job getting back in the team, because I thought those two were excellent. Harwood Bellis looked a lot more comfortable on the right as opposed to being on the left of the two. And I've really grown to like Bednarek when he's played this season, because he's an out-and-out defender. Technically he's not the best on the ball, but I always feel more confident that when the ball's in the air, he's going to win a header, or he's going to get the tackle in. He sort of gives a bit of confidence that we're less likely to do something stupid at the back when he's there. So in answer to the question, I was not particularly worried, other than the usual sod's law thing. Here we go. And I was at that game that Adam was referring to when we got beat 4-3, and it was just grim.
You mentioned a lot of names there, Glenn. I'll get your TSP Player of the Week in just a moment. I'm going to ask the other guys first. Alfie, loads of players that could get Player of the Week. Who really stood out for you? Was there someone that was kind of head and shoulders above yesterday?
Yeah, well, I think Kamaldeen Sulemana for one, because I mentioned last week that, when I've been in the club, and I've been very lucky to be in around training and being around the group a couple of times and just sort of hear what people think. And I've told you that Russell Martin really believes that Kamaldeen Sulemana is a genuinely very good player. A lot of people at the club have seen him train. And I think we saw that for the first time since Liverpool. Like I say, creativity, willing to just slow down, like Glenn said, and to bring the ball inside when needed to, wait for the right moment and find the pass. But just like I did in the first sort of 4 or 5 weeks, I'm going to have to go for Adam Armstrong again, because I've got my own little fan club going. Yeah. And just when he gets the ball in the box sometimes, like last year you didn't get the ball in the box, to be fair. But, this season, there's been a couple of times where he just does things that I had no idea was in the locker. And the way that, I can't remember who the left fullback was, but the way they just sat him down and made the space for him to shot for the third goal, I couldn't believe that Adam Armstrong was doing that. So I'd have to go with him.
Standout performer for you yesterday, Fraser?
I think it's a tough one. Obviously, a lot of good performances. I think sort of echoing what Alfie and Glen have said there, Sulemana is the thing that really impressed me, like the guys have said, is his decision making yesterday, and actually making that right decision, making that pass, and knowing when to sort of run in behind, because he has been coming to feet a lot, but he stretched the pitch a lot yesterday. He was very good, but I think Flynn Downs had probably his best game in a Saints shirt so far. But I would I really liked what the centre backs did yesterday. I think there was clearly a ploy or instruction to pick your moments to play, and if it was getting too dangerous, then actually clear it or clip a ball forward, which was quite refreshing to see after some of the mistakes we've seen. So I think I'm going to go Bednarek just for a bit of redemption arc for him. But yeah, I really liked what he did, and I think that has the makings of a really nice partnership. Harwood Bellis and Bednarek at the back.
It's a great story. One name from you then, Glenn.
Well, Fraser's just nicked who I was going to say, so I will.
Sorry.
That's right. I will go with Kyle Walker-Peters.
Okay,
because
fine.
I thought he had a really good game on the right hand side.
Now, Adam, you're free to pick anybody that we've already mentioned, but who was the standout performer for you yesterday?
I'd say Harwood Bellis. He looked so cool, and he really gave us another dimension with his long range passing. And that is the player that I was reading about that we signed, not the one that we'd see in a couple of weeks leading up to that. I thought he was superb, and I'm excited about seeing him develop for the rest of the season.
And before we let you get back to bed, Adam, have you seen enough, do you think, yesterday just to keep your positivity up? Do you think we're going to have enough? Do you think we'll get there at the end of the season?
With defines what you mean by getting there. I don't think we're going to win the championship this season, but no, I honestly think we can go on a run now. It's really, I think we've got to be really excited about what we've got ahead of us. I do think we've got a great manager, we've got a great team, we've got a good mixture of players, and really excited for the rest of the season. And so I think we can go on a little bit of a run now, and hopefully we're in and around those playoff spots at the end of the season with a bit of momentum. And we can do this.
All right, give our regards to the rest of the SAS, and thanks for getting up, and thanks for coming on. Enjoy the rest of the season. Cheers, Adam.
Thanks for having me, guys. Have a lovely day. Yeah. Cheers.
No worries.
Cheers.